Starting. मैसेज आ गया ब्रो. Oh. Hmm. Hey everyone. So yeah, today is day 3, and let's just wait a couple more minutes. Let's wait everyone joins and we get started. All right, let's get started. How are you all doing? Hope you're all doing good and you are excited for today's workshop. Today we're going to complete the app with adding, the real-time chat where you can chat with any online users that are using the app. You'll be able to chat with them. So that's going to be the app. And okay, if there are any questions with the previous workshop or any doubts with any of the concepts, feel free to ask them and I will answer them. Okay, simply there's nothing. So first thing you want to do is we want to clone a particular repository. Okay, so let's see. I have created a basic UI that we can use to continue working on the app. So I'm going to drop this in the comments. Okay. So what you have to do is from here, copy the URL or no, don't copy the URL. Click the code and click the HTTPS link here. Copy that and go to your terminal. You have to do git clone this. Okay. So I'll go to do that in my code repository where I keep all the code. Git clone. Okay. And this will clone the repo. Now you have to cd into it and open that in a code editor. All right, great. So let me show you what's there here. So we have the basic Node.js and SocketIO setup here. It has nothing else other than this. Very simple Node server setup, and we have a little bit of HTML CSS setup here as well. So let's run this and see what we have here. Okay, whenever you clone a Node.js project, with chas package.json, you have to install all the packages first. One second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I will repeat this once again. What's happening here is I have cloned a repository that in which I have set up some sample, a simple Node.js server, which is set up with SocketIO. Okay, and then it also has some front end, HTML, and a little bit of CSS. So I'll run this project and you'll see what this is about. So first you want to do is install all the packages with npm I, and once that is done, you can start running the server with node index.js. Okay, once that's done, you should be able to go to localhost 5000 and access it. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so this is the chat app. I think some styling are missing in here. Let's see. Is it the CSS? I have to do something like this. Oh. Okay. So what happens is these files are not being served, right? We have to serve these files as well. Okay, so let's set up Express a little bit, or we'll come to the styling part later. We'll just work on getting the functionality right, and I can show you how it actually look when you run this. So what I'll do instead is let's keep this. I'll keep this running. I'll start another live server inside the public folder, and this will show us properly with all the styles. Okay, so let's head to here and yeah, get it to mobile view. Yeah, this is how it looks when the CSS is loaded properly. We'll fix that bug by the end of the video. Okay, it's basically because in our node server we're only serving the HTML directly like this, and it's likely that the CSS is not possible to get it, right? That's not being served by the server. All right, now we have this. So the first thing we want to do is this online counter, we have to make it real time. So anybody who opens our app should be able to see how many people are active or live right now. So that's one thing. And when they click on that, we want to be able to show all the online users there are, right? And from there, they'll be able to select which they want, who they want to chat with, and then they'll be able to chat with them. So the other person who's also is chatting with this person will be able to see all the messages like this. So these are just dummy messages that's there on the HTML part. You can see here, right? Okay, I'll explain a little bit about this UI. Okay, so first we have one container which has the entire app in it, which is this, and then we have navbar which has a simple image and a button in it. And when you click the button, it will open up this modal. This modal is the code for the modal is over here. So this thing is built using Bootstrap, and Bootstrap is a simple CSS library which you can use to use its components, use its styles to build your components such as bootstraps. Okay, so in case if you have not or ever seen that, take a look at this. So this package provides you with a bunch of things, right? You can create all of these things without having to write a lot of CSS. Basically use the bootstrap class names and you will get all of these things happening. So in here we're having, for example, this button has a class of btn and btn primary. These are coming from bootstrap, and when you use that you get this kind of button like this. Okay, cool. Now let's see how we can keep track of all the online users we have. Right. So before anything, what we have to do now is connect to the socket server, right? So if you remember from our last thing, the way we did that was we would have to connect would have to first import the script file for the socket client, SocketIO client, right? So it will be exposed under socket/SocketIO. I think let's check the previous code. Okay, so it's socketio.js. There, done. Okay, change the camera to this side. You would not need to know Bootstrap for now. This is just think of this for now, that these classes just have some styles that we are adding to them, and there's nothing much you need to think about on Bootstrap side. So it's completely okay to not know Bootstrap. Okay, so we have the socket initialization. Let's see if it's working. Okay, let's log the socket when connected, so that we know that's connecting. We'll say socket ID is connected. We'll start the server this time with watch, so that it restarts every time there's a change. Okay, I'm not using the latest version. Let's switch to 18. Okay, refresh this. Let's check the network tab if we're making any requests. Okay, I think this is not being loaded, so let's just have local. We can use the CDN, SocketIO client CDN as well. So yeah, let's use this. Okay, it should be connecting now. Let's refresh this. Okay, yes, we did not connect it, right? We only imported the CDN. So let's go ahead into our index.js. So all of our JavaScript this time we'll be writing in a JavaScript file separately. In our demo apps, we did it in a index.html file, right? So this time we'll write all of this code in here. Okay. So first you wanna connect to the server, right? So how do we do that? We know that whenever we inject the SocketIO client, an object called IO will be exposed through the window object. So you can create a socket like this, socket IO, and then you give the path for the socket server, which is localhost 5000. Now this should connect us to the socket server. Let's verify. Let's put a console log here so that we know this file is actually being imported. Okay, this is a course error. Okay, let's fix all of this with adding Express. So with Express we can set up the cores and as well as this the HTML thing. How we are not able to access CSS and JavaScript in here with Express. So we're gonna install the Express. Pim install Express. Okay, so what you have to do is to create an instance of Express, require Express like this. This will create a server of Express. So Express is nothing but it's built on top of the same HTTP server here, the HTTP module of Node, to which it exposes a lot of methods which you can easily configure to build your Node server basically. So let's see how we can set up Express static. So what we're trying to do is serve static files from a single path, right? So for that we can just use this method will then serve all the static files properly for us. Okay, I'll remove this for a while because we'll not be using this now. And what we'll do is paste this, and in here we'll replace this with app. It will be for 5000 port. Not need this. We'll get back to that. Okay, now let's see. Index.js. Oh, my bad. I'm in the wrong directory. Node index.js. Okay, let's import Express and create an app like this. So this is another way we can create an app. We're now doing it this way because Express is kind of needed for us to set up a static path. Okay, now let's go ahead and see what do we have at localhost 5000. Okay, this time we can see that the styles are properly loaded within our node server, and we do not have to set up another server to get these styles right. Okay, now that's done. Let's see how we can add SocketIO to Express. It should be the same way as how we did with the bare HTTP server, but let's just verify it. All right, let's check by giving it directly the app instance. It should work. So we'll create an IO object on top of our Express server, and let's see if that works. Okay, looks like SocketIO is not set up. Let's restart the server. Okay, we cannot do directly like this. Let's refer any other docs we can. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to create an HTTP server on top of app. That's basically what we have to do. HTTP handler, and that would be http dot server, and we'll pass the app. Okay, and then I think then we can pass this HTTP handler to SocketIO. Yeah. Let's start the server. Let's see. Did we miss anything? Okay. We have to call this. Okay, now it's working. Okay, this is the reason why I had avoided setting up with Express directly, because it would cause a little bit of confusion. So I'll walk you through what's happening here. So SocketIO expects you to give the the low level object where it can create its own handler, right? For example, the slash SocketIO thing. That part, it needs to be able to access the server in a way that it can actually do that. So when we pass an Express server directly, it will not be able to do that. So what we do kind of here is create a HTTP server with the Express server, whatever it was given, right? And then we attach the SocketIO to this bare minimum HTTP handler, and then we use that handler to start the server. Okay. Now we can see in the console that this socket ID is connected. The socket ID is nothing but this user that's connected here. And if I open this in a new tab like this, you can see a new socket is now connected. Okay, now let's keep this active like this. Okay, what we want to now do is whenever a socket is connected, we want to store that socket in our app, and then tell all the clients that are connected, hey, these many people are connected to this socket. There's a comment here, JavaScript obfuscation. I'm not sure what that is about. Yeah. All right, so let's keep an object, right, that will store all the sockets. Let's say const sockets. Now why are we going to use an object? It's because something we'll discuss soon. So in this socket, how we're going to structure this is the socket key, the ID of every socket is going to be the key of this here, and each socket key or socket ID will have its own object. So it might have the name of the person that's being used. So it will be like username Dave. Okay, so it will be like this. obviously we do not have the username yet, but we will be getting that from the user. And this way we'll be able to store all the sockets and the information related to it. And the reason we're using sockets, storing sockets in an object manner, is it will help us access those sockets or the information about the socket easily. Okay, let's see. Okay, now once the socket is connected, let's just add it to the sockets object like this, socket ID, and we'll set an object. We'll set username Dev for now. Now once we've done that, let's log the sockets and see what we are getting. Okay, I'm going to restart the server. Now you can see that the sockets, we now got 3 sockets connected. It's probably another browser of mine, and all of them are setting the object with the username Dev. So now we can, whenever we want an information about a particular socket or a particular connection, we can grab it easily through this object. Okay. Now let's see how we can get the name of the the user. But before that, let's send them back, like how many clients are connected. So I'm going to emit user count. So I'm going to emit to all the connected users that, hey, there's been a change in the number of users, and I'm going to send the count. Now in order to get the number of keys that there are in the sockets, what we can do is object.keys sockets. What this method will do, object.keys, is convert all the keys inside the sockets to an array, and then we can grab the length of it like this. Okay, now let's listen to this in here. So we'll do socket on user count, right? Users count. We'll be able to see the data like this. Okay, let's refresh this, and meet users count, and this should be listening. Are we using this right? Yep. Let's refresh once. Okay, now you can see that in the console we're getting that 3 is the new count, because now we have 3 clients that are connected. Now let's see how we can set this in here, right? And this is going to be simple, because in the HTML we have a span with ID online count. We just have to change its inner text to the new count. So let's do that. So I'll say document get element by ID, and I think it's, what was it again? Online count. Okay, say online count inner text to data dot count. Let's refresh this. Yep, now we see it's online 4. Yeah, so it's not like another new client joined, but it's because when every time I refresh, it's in the server, right, what's happening is it's keep on adding them, right? Every time I'm leaving, I'm not being removed from the socket. So that's also what we have to take care of. So every time I refresh, the page is reloaded again, and when it reloads, I'm kind of disconnecting from the server here. So we'll also have to handle that. So what we can do is we can listen for the disconnect event. So disconnect event is an inbuilt event, basically, that fired every time, you know, a socket leaves. So we will delete that from the socket thing. So we can do like this: delete sockets of socket. So this will remove this entry from the socket. Okay. IO on disconnect. Okay. All right, now we can see that every time so I refresh this. Okay, still buggy. Okay, and I have to emit the new count again. Weird. Let's see what's happening here. Every time I think let's log the socket ID that's coming up, right? Every time I refresh or something, we'll be able to debug this. It's 3. Let's put a different log here saying disconnect. Okay, the disconnect is not being fired. It means I think maybe it's not disconnect. Let's see. Let's check the docs. They must have documented this. Disconnection. Okay, so we'll get that over here itself on socket disconnection. We will call this okay. Is this the new one? Disconnect is undefined. Yeah, it's already given to us. socket.id. Okay, now it's fixed. So now every time somebody leaves, this disconnect will fire, and what that will do is get the socket ID again and remove it from this object. Okay, and then we fire in user's account again. So if I close, let's say open another window, it's 4 now. It's 4 both of the places, and if I close this, it becomes 3. Okay. All right. Now along with sending the count, we will also have to send the users. So let's send that. So users sockets, send all this socket itself whenever a user has left or joined. Okay. Or on disconnect, we will only send yeah, let's send which user disconnected, so that's much better, and we will remove that from the DOM when we're doing the front end. So similarly in here, okay. Alright, so if we console log it in the front end, should be able to get which user connected and which user has left. Yeah, so as we can see, this user has left. Okay. Now next thing we want to do is, when we click on online, we want to see all the users that are there. Okay, so to do that, on users count, let's see, instead of this, let's submit a more appropriate event. Like this would be user joined, and this would be user left. Okay, and then based on the event, what we can do is either remove the user or add the user. Cool. So let's listen to user joined first. Okay, and yeah, count will be always there. Alright guys, so let's check out the HTML code. So when we click on the online, this modal opens, right? And the content inside that modal is over here. And this is where we want to display all the set of users we have. So let's create a div here, and let's give it an ID of online users. Okay, and so this is how the users, let's have just a button that says connect chat with Dev. Okay, so once they click on this, they'll be chatting with the person named Dev. Okay, and so let's give this some bootstrap style. Right, and so as more people add on, we're gonna add more buttons like this, and then they can chat with any of them. Right, let's make a small change to this style so that it appears one after the other. Just say display flex, flex direction b column. This is an ID. Okay, just add a gap and okay, cool. So every time a user joins, we're gonna keep adding more buttons so they can chat with any of the online users they want to. Okay, so I'll remove this. This as well, it's probably not needed. Okay. All right, guys. So let's target this div. Okay. So I'm going to create a function that says const add online user. It's going to take in user ID and username. And to any given user and username, we're going to add it to the DOM. First, want to get the users container or div document get element by ID. The ID is online users. Okay. Now let's create a button. Document create element of button, and we'll also create a text node because that's what's going to be inside the button, right? Text node, it will have username as the text, or more like chat with username. Then we're going to add a child text node inside the button, and finally we will add into the users div the button. We also have to add the styles, so what we'll do is button class list add button. You can also add an array, it seems. So will be button and button neutral. Let's see if this works. Let's call this every time a user is joined. Let the user ID be empty for now, and data.user dot username. I think that's how the structure is. Let's take a look. So user will have username. Let's keep this uniform. So we username here as well. Let's see. Let's log the data, see what we're getting. Is user joined, I think. Yeah. Okay, we got this. Got it. Cool. Now you notice that we only see one person added, because when we joined, right, we were the only person that were added. So that's why we kind of see that our self itself. What we also want to do is whenever someone joins the app, then also we should fire that, hey, all of these users have joined, you can add them in your online thing. So I'll do is we will listen to another socket that says init users. Okay, in this or we can also do it on connection, but this is fine. We'll fire an init users whenever a new socket is connected, and we will tell them which are the users that are connected. Okay, let's implement this init user. So we want to emit to only that particular socket on connection. So we'll write it over here. Socket emit init users. And in the users, we'll send all the sockets. Okay, good. Now let's listen for this in the front end and see what we are getting. Okay, we're getting all of this. Now we can see that there are actually two people here, but if you only see one person, so this is the one that's hard coded, and let's remove that. Okay, now let's take the users outside, or what we can do is we will loop through each key, and through each key we'll access that particular user, and then so we'll loop through each key and access the users for that key and add the button for this. Okay, I'll show you how that means. Object keys data.users, and we'll see for each user ID add online user ID, and we have to access the object data.users with the user ID. Let's see if this works. Yep, we can see that we have three people here, but the name should be like .username. First this. Yeah, since all of the users have Dev in them, so Dev is kind of hard coded in the backend, right? So let's see how we can set up the name as well. So what we'll do is, as soon as the JavaScript file is loaded, let's just simply show a prompt to get their name. Okay, and then we will kind of set their name in the backend. It's okay. So in order to do that, I'll go to the index.js here, and I will say, so let me show you what prompt looks like. So if I do this, refresh, this pop-up comes. Okay, this is a prompt, and you can pass in the message you want. Enter your username. Let's just call it that. Enter your username, and when they enter the username, we can store that. Okay, say username prompt. And this time like we are setting the username directly as Dev here, right? Which would not be accurate, and we will also not have the username as soon as they join, correct? So what we'll do for that is listen for an event that says, hey, I'm setting my username. So what we'll do is we'll like fire an event, socket emit set username, or let's call it login, right? And we'll say username. Okay, This is a shorthand for like typing username colon username, and instead of doing that when your key and value are kind of like look the same, what you can do is just send this would mean the same thing. Okay, now let's listen for a login event. Over here, socket on login. Listen for data, and instead of them we're emitting this over here, right, on this on join. Let's do that when they actually give their name. Okay, so once they send their name as username, we can take that and set that up in our object here, sockets. So let's do that. Sockets, oh my bad, emit login. We'll say sockets socket dot id equals to username from data dot username. Okay, let me refresh this and I'll say I'm Dave. Okay, and what I'll do is refresh it over here and I'll say my name is this time Shritam, and you can see it's new person is Shritan, and here it says chat with Dave and chat with Shritan. If I refresh this, it's chat with Dave, chat with Shritan, chat with Dave. Okay. This, remove this. Okay, so we are getting the buttons now. Next thing we want to do is on click, right, we have to initialize chat with them. So for the moment, what we'll do is whenever they click on it, we want to be able to get the user ID they are clicking. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have to attach an event handler for each of those buttons. So let's do that. This is my JS here. So I'll say on chat click. So since we're attaching it to a buttons on click, it's going to call our function on chat click with the event E, and we can access the ID of it. e.target.id. This will give the ID of the element that was clicked with the whichever element this function has. So to give an example, let's say let's just create a simple button here. We'll see on click. Alright, we can't, let's not do it here. Okay, so instead of here, what we can do is whenever we create a button, we can directly attach it. So I'll keep this at the top. So in here we created a button, right? So we can just do button add event listener on click, or just click, I think, click, call the on chat click. Now we'll have to set the ID of the button to the user ID. Okay, let's try this out. Yeah, we're getting the user ID. Okay, this one has no ID. Let's debug that. Okay, I think it's because I'm adding it to our ID. It should be data dot user dot ID. Let's check if you're sending the user ID on user joined. User joined is over here, and now we're not sending it. So what we'll do is we'll send user ID and username separately. Or no, let's just send it like this. Username would be socket.id, and wait, that's ID, right? And then we'll send username would be from, we can directly get it from data as well, data.username. Okay, cool. So the first person here it shows is myself, right? Let's filter that when we're actually sending it to the same person. Okay, yeah, we'll come back to that later. Let's focus on initiating the chat whenever I click on a new user, right? So let's say I'm Dave2, right? I want to be able to chat with someone else. So if I join with another browser, okay, so now they see Dev2, Shritan and all. So when I click, you can see all of these different IDs getting logged. Okay, and when I click someone else's name, this modal should close, and we should start a conversation with them. Okay, so we can see here that this isn't a particular way in sockets we can emit to a particular person, right? But what we can do is from one person to another person, you can't connect directly the sockets, right? So to build the actually one-to-one chat thing, we can utilize something called rooms. So rooms is a simple concept in SocketIO, in which basically you can create a room for two sockets or two users, and any message you send to that room, it will be broadcasted to both of them. So it will not affect any of the other sockets or other users. So what this basically means is any two person who wanna have a chat, they will join a room and then they'll converse. That's how it's going to work. So the app we're building kind of needs this kind of functionality where you can only chat when in a room with them, and this is exactly the thing that can come in your hand, right? So in order to use this, you have to first join a room, okay? And you also have to keep in mind that this is a server only concept, meaning the client will not have access to the list of rooms it has joined. So if you're having multiple rooms and stuff, you will have to maintain that in the server, and if you want to tell the client, you have to also maybe send it yourself. Okay, so let's see. What we want to do is we want to have an event that says, hey, I want to chat this guy, right? When someone is clicking on the button at the chat user on chat click, right now we are only logging their id of the socket or the user. What we want is, want to create a room with them so we can only converse with them and our messages can only be seen for them. So that's the core idea here. So what we'll do is we'll emit an event, emit chat init chat. Okay, in that we'll send the user id that we want to chat with. Let's call it socket id for now, or socket id, because that's technically what that is, and send it. Okay, and in the backend what we have to do is listen to this init chat. Okay, and socket on init chat, and from the data we get, we have to join this person on to that room. Okay, now how can we do this, right? One way we can do this is, let's we can create a room, we can create an object called rooms. Okay, okay, let's think about this. Can two or more rooms exist simultaneously? Yes, any number of rooms can exist. There is no limit to it. It's basically just a concept. It's like a channel basically. Anyone can be in more than one room, all that stuff. Okay, so we wanna be able to join a room, and the room name should be unique and should only be both of them should have the same room. How can we do that? Okay, I got it. So let's keep a room like this which has an id. Okay, and this is going to be the id of the room id whom you're making the chat to. Okay, and inside that you will have another id which is going to be the person who you're chatting with. Okay, and inside that you'll have messages. So this will be all the messages that will be shared between these two users. Okay, okay, so this is like an example of how this rooms thing's going to look like. So what we'll do is when the chat has been initiated, we will check actually this rooms is going to be our own kind of data structure that will store separate, that will store IDs for rooms for two people who are in the same room. So it will be like room ID. It's going to look like this. So we'll create an arbitrary room ID for every two people who want to join. Okay, so while initiating chat, we have data socket ID. So I'll store this as init user ID, init socket ID, meaning who is the person who's trying to create a chat. and another socket ID called target socket ID. This is the user that they want to connect to. So there would be data socket ID, and this would be simply socket.id. Okay. I'm just thinking if there's a better way to do this. If you guys have any idea, you can also pitch that. Okay. Cool. Let's go ahead and try this. We will join these two people or this person to one room. So we'll join this room. Socket.join, and the room ID is going to be the target socket ID. Okay. Okay, now this now means that the person who has initiated has joined a room with the other person's socket ID. Now what we have to do is the person with this socket ID has to now will send data, like any messages is sent, they will be sent to this socket ID, right? This room. Okay, let's see. Okay, once you have joined a room, you also have to send messages to the same room. Okay, let's do this. We'll create a room ID with the combination of these two IDs. Once this is done, we will emit an event to the target socket ID to join this room ID as well. Okay, so what we'll do is IO emit join room, and which user do you want to join the room? This should happen inside here and here. there is a video where I use long polling. No, not directly, but SocketIO can use long polling when the browser or if there's a problem with WebSockets. Okay. Now, getting back. So we have to tell the user to join this room ID as well. To basically, we have to make sure they're in the same room. And once we're not joined, we'll alert the user. This is going to be the target. We want to alert the target. Hey, you have to join this room ID. Okay, and we're going to listen to the same thing. Are you on join room? Join user room. Okay, this is two will be different because this is telling the other user that hey, this person wants you to join room, and once they accept that or is okay with that, they will initiate another event which will listen and will join them as well. You can actually listen to their socket itself. We don't have to. Yeah, you can do socket on join room, which the user wants to join, and tick the data. Data should have the room ID, and we can just join them there as well. Socket.join data.room ID. Okay. Alright, so let's do the first step, which is calling this event init chat from the front end whenever a button is clicked. So index.js init chat socket. Okay, I think it's already being done. Socket ID is being sent, and now this socket will have joined the room. Now next we have to listen to this one and call this event. Let's do that. Socket on join user room. Okay, data, and we'll call socket image join room data. I think yeah, that should do it. This would basically join us to the rooms. Let's see if there's a way we can keep track of the rooms. Okay, anyway, let's also keep track of room ID they have joined, so that we know we can send this room, and that is kind of told to both of these users. So whenever we get this join user room, we'll set the room ID to the room ID we receive in the data. let me just console log here that room joined. I'm also gonna keep a track of users, like online users in a top array. So whenever the users is initiated, or when we add the online users here, I can just push to online users. Push ID, user ID and username. Okay. Alright, and when they initiate a chat, we want to show them that who are they chatting with, right? So let's do that. In here, in the nav bar, after the image, I'll just create a span tag that will be the ID of the user chatting, user chat, or could be room name. Room name is basically the name of the opposite socket ID user. So we'll just set this to the user they are chatting with, and we can do that over in this function on chat click. So we'll get the element by ID. Yeah, target ID. Sorry. Room name, and we'll set its inner text to online users. So since we're now storing all the users in this top array, in a global array, we can access them e.target.id and with their name, user. Let's see how we're done so far. Refresh this, say Dev. Refresh this, say Sridhan. So let's say I want to chat with Dev. We have an error, undefined property username. Let's see, username. It's an array, right? So let's change that to object. Online users, user ID, username. Okay, and okay, yeah, that should do it. Let's refresh this again. Be Sridhan, and this will be Dev. Let's try to initiate a chat from Sridhan Dev. Room joined, and the chat shows now Dev. So now I'm chatting with Dev. Alright, so we're done with most of the things. The final thing that's left is sending messages and receiving messages on the room, right? Okay, so we have this button here that says send. Okay, send button. I'm gonna get this button over here before all the socket stuff. Document.getElement by ID, send button, add event listener, on click, and it will call the send message function, which is not there yet. We'll write it now. Const send message. Okay, and this text area should just give that an ID as message input, and get the value from there. Document get element by id message input value. Okay, we have the message now. Now we want to send this to the room id we are in. Okay, so since we're storing the current room id over here, we're not storing it yet, right? Yeah, we're storing it. So we have to emit an event that, hey, I want to send it to this room, this message, and people are which are over in that room should be able to receive that message. Okay, so let's, to send it, we'll say socket dot emit send message. Who are we sending it to? Which will be room id, and what is the message? Okay. Send message. Let it be from. Send message to room. Yeah. Alright, so now we have to listen to this on the back end and send it to people in that room. Okay, let's listen to the event socket and send message to room data log. Let's console log the data for now. Let's see what we're getting. Srithan, chat with Srithan, room joined. Let's say AWS. Let's check the console if you have that. Didn't save this. Okay. If Srithan and from here I'll join Dev. Okay. And let's send message. Okay, see, we're now getting this room ID and what the message is. So we have to now broadcast this message to the room. Let's see how we can do that. Rooms. Okay, so we can emit like this. Okay, so what we're gonna do is let's also see if both of them have joined the same room. Okay, not yet, right? We have to make sure that both of them have the room ID. Okay, so once a person joins a room, join user room. We also have to get the other user to kind of join the same room, right? So in order to do that, we have to emit another event that will tell both the users to join the same room. So right now only the person who initiated joins the room, right? It's trigger this to both. Okay, socket emit room joined, and we'll say which room did you join, room ID, and then we'll keep the room ID in the state. So let's go over here, let's listen to socket on room join. Let's also send who's the target, which room did, who's the room, who else is in the room with. So target socket ID. So we'll set room ID equals data dot room ID, and we will also have to set the chatting name over there to the target room user. So it will be like this line. Instead of e.target ID, this time it will be data.target socket ID. Okay, let's try this. If and if we joined chat with dev2, things happening. Okay, it's dev2 here, but we did not receive an event over here. Let's see why that happened. Join user room. Okay, are we listening to this? Okay, so we're emitting to all sockets. So instead of this, we're already doing that here. Let's see, user ID. User ID will be the socket ID itself. Click who's joining, socket.id, and the person you want it to join. Okay, now we have to listen to this as the other user and join the room. this is the one. Should be doing it over here. Join user room. Only if user ID is this ID. Just have to verify something. If the socket here also has the same ID, let's verify that quickly. Yeah, thought so. It's only created on the backend. So what we'll do is we'll create a user ID variable which we'll set as soon as we are connected. And we'll listen to an event called set user ID. Okay, dot on set user ID. We'll set the user ID to data.id. We'll fire this from the backend as soon as they join. Okay. Set user ID. That will be the socket ID. Okay, so this way we're setting the user ID. Now why do we need this? Is to check when a join request comes, if it is coming for us. So we'll check that if user ID data dot user ID. So if this request is for us, only then we will join that user. It's not here, should be here. Data dot user ID. Only then we're going to join the data dot target socket ID. Data target socket ID. Okay, that's looking good. Let's try this. Console log this, see if we're actually join user room. Let's console log this. Okay, we're getting the requests and user ID. This say not as same as my user ID. It's also console log that. Oh, my user ID is not set at all. Why is that? should be set user ID. Okay, try one more time. Okay, so the ID is this. Okay, we have to check for target socket ID. Okay, now it says I'm chatting with Srithan and 223 is chatting with him. Okay, cool. And finally, we have to send messages that can be seen from both ends. Okay, so we have send message defined, I think. Send message here, sends us. So let's listen to this. Send message to room if this is working. Socket on. Okay, we're already listening. Okay, I think we already verified this. What we have to do is socket io dot emit io to emit. What is the room ID? I think it will be sent data dot room ID to data dot room ID and emit message, new message. And the message is going to be message data dot message sent by, we'll set the socket ID, so sent by user ID, which means which user has sent the message to this room. Okay, let's listen to the new message on front end. So it will be socket on new message, listen to data, and let's just console log for now.